Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Indie Diarist, a podcast on the human stories behind indie game development. Have you ever played one of those Facebook games like Mafia Wars, that kind of stuff? Well, if that rings a bell, you're going to enjoy this episode because today we have a guest tuning in straight from Turkey who's, originally from Russia, and that's Aleksey. And over to you, Aleksey, to say a few things about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aleksey Dmitriev. I'm a game developer from Russia. Now I live in Turkey. And during the last 10 years, I have been a solo developer, lead of a game studio. And now I'm back a solo developer.
Yeah, well, that's a good summary. You told me quite a bit about your story, but we'll have a chance to dig into it as we go forward. So, as the listeners know, this podcast is about the stories behind the indie games and indie developers that we all love, and it's a great chance for people to also find some new things to play. So, as a first question, let's do it as an icebreaker. What's a game you would recommend anyone to play? And you can choose one indie and one AAA, or just one of each. Up to you.
I would definitely recommend to play Stardew Valley because it's a indie game, but the quality and depth of the game is very close to AAA games. And you can find many different mechanics, many different aspects of the game there, just to see how farming, monster fighting, and social interactions can mix together into a single product. It gives a great impression. And right now I'm playing Subnautica, so I would like to recommend this game because it's
right.
nice.
Yeah, I haven't played Subnautica, but it's on my list. I would like to do that at some point. Stardew Valley is a great recommendation. Actually, I've had, I don't know how many hours I've got in there, maybe 80 hours or something like that. And still, it's not that much. I believe it's rookie numbers to some. Some will probably have like 200, 500 hours on it. But yeah, it's become my little ritual now. Every Christmas when I go back home, because I'm Italian, as some listeners will know, when I go back home over Christmas, I have only my laptop with me, not my most powerful PC. So what I play is usually Stardew Valley, and I go through a whole year there, and yeah, it's always very fun.
We play it with my daughter right now. So.
Oh, that's amazing! Yeah, I haven't played multiplayer yet, but I know that must be very fun and relaxing too. So that's cool. Right. Well, let's move on to a few questions about you, Aleksey, and more about you as a game dev. So when did you realize you wanted to be a game developer? Because I believe everybody has their own personal aha moment. For me, it was very early on, and I realized I wanted to be a writer. But what was it for you?
Well, actually, my game development career started very earlier. When I was in school, like 12 years old maybe, there was a evening class in our school where one of the teachers taught us how to program. So we used some Russian version of basic language, which was made especially for education purposes. And you write algorithm in Russian, if, else, loops, conditions, functions, etc. And instead of just giving us some algorithms, the teacher decided to give us a task to make a game. We took the game, very old one, Load Runner, and we remade it with the engine we used. It was text-based, no graphics, nothing. At that moment, it was like very first generation of PC personal computers. And at that moment, I thought it would be nice to be a game developer, but I didn't think about it as a career. But many years later, when I was already after the university, I was working in the enterprise. I was making web applications, and one day, I saw a game which looked like just another application, but it actually was the game. And I thought, hey, I can make a game of this kind with the same stack I use for my full-time job. So I started to make a game in my free time. It was a browser game with server. And one step after another, it grew into some sort of game engine made specifically for this kind of games. Maybe you remember many years ago there was Facebook, a gaming platform in browser.
Yeah.
In browser,
I
yes.
remember that.
And there was series of games like Mafia Wars. And actually, I made an engine to make it a Mafia Wars game. It was very popular at that moment, and
It
there
really
were many
was,
people.
yeah. I never played it, but I remember it was very popular and it always popped up.
Yes, it's a casual text-based game, basically. And there were many people who wanted to make their own version of this game, like about Mafia, about, I don't know, Russian Mafia, Italian Mafia, maybe some gangs, some Yakuza, etc. And when I thought I will make a game with this engine, I thought I need to buy some art, maybe. So I need money. And I decided to sell the engine. Some people bought some copies of the engine, and I sold customizations, I sold unique designs for it, and step by step it grew into our sourcing studio, where people bought our engine, we customized it, and they made a game with it.
Well, yeah, that's that's pretty much what you told me in writing in a few messages here and there. But it's really fascinating, and yeah, I mean, I have a question to dive deeper into this part of your development life, so to speak. But it will be later on. But for now, I'm curious about one thing. Which project of yours really matters to you? I suppose it's going to be this one, isn't it? Or is there something else that came maybe later on?
Actually, right now, the project I'm still working on is the game made with this engine. It was made like 10 years ago, and it's still active, still played by a few hundreds players. It's still profitable, and it really matters to me because it's the very first project I had a noticeable success for myself. I don't mean success in terms of like games like Stardew Valley, for example.
Yeah, well, but you know, success is measurable in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
So I think,
It gave me freedom from my full-time job, freedom to experiment, freedom to make things I love, to travel, to be with my family much more. So it still matters to me, and I still work on this game. But there were other games I think are very important for my establishment as a game developer as well. For example, the Match 3 game I have mentioned when we talked to you. We made it for a few years, and I found that you can still make a game you might love, even if you make a game for which is not considered as a great game by the Steam community or people who play AAA games. There was a premium game we have started to develop for Steam, but had to close due to circumstances. And it's important for me because it was the first game where I didn't make decisions about how the game will grow. It was a game I completely delegated to the team, and I was like a person who introduce some ideas but don't decide where the game goes. So I have three very important games for me.
But
right
yeah,
now.
no, that's really compelling. I think it's interesting to see your journey. And there's another interesting thing that you said. It's the fact that you started with a text-based game. I think a lot of people start with that, especially if they have a flair for game development. They first start experimenting with variables and all of that, and then yeah, it was the only game I ever published is a horror choose your own adventure style of game, which lasts about 2 hours, but it's just text based.
Hmm.
And it was already incredibly fun to make that one. So yeah, but yeah, so it's great to know that you have a few projects that you're proud of, because the way you introduced yourself to me was like, oh yeah, no, it's more failures than successes. I don't think so, and that brings me to my next few questions. So, why are you a game developer, and what drives you forward? What is the one thing that makes you be like, oh yeah, I love this job?
First of all, I love to invent. Uh, I love to invent something new. And in game development, you are free to invent because when you develop real world applications like which solve problems, you are actually bound by the problem. So if someone tells you, "I want to order pizza," you can't give them anything except pizza. So they mostly care about how fast they get, how warm it is, but still it's pizza. In game development, the only problem you can solve for people is just give me some fun, make something to entertain me, give me some goal, give me some reason to play, and from this point you are free. You can do whatever you want. You can make, I don't know, Tetris VR. You can make Angry Birds with the robots. You can make, I don't know, board game inside a computer, etc., etc. You can experiment. You can mix. You can turn everything upside down and see how it goes. And this sort of freedom also gives you uh, leaves you without ground under your feet, because you can't just when you are stuck, when you are you don't know where to move in applications. You can just get back to the problem itself, just get back to people who are your customers, and go from there. In game development, you actually don't have that point where you can get back, because if you try to get back, you get back to people who say, "Where is my funny moments? Where is my enjoyment? Where is my entertainment?" That's all. So you have to find inspiration someone else, and this journey of seeking for inspiration is something that gives me energy, because you can find something interesting in your day-to-day experience, even if you just look at sitting in the cafe, drinking your morning coffee and watching the sky. You can find something that will improve your game in some way. For example, I had this moment a few weeks ago when I was like sitting in a cafe, watching how people just walking by the cafe, and I thought that would be great to have such scene in my fantasy game, because it will give players some mood, some impression of the world itself. But you can do this in enterprise application on some software. No, that's it.
That's a great answer, really. So the creativity is what brings you forward. The fact that you're not bound by a problem. You're not bound
Yes.
by having to satisfy customer. Well, you are in a way, but you're trying to make something fun, something engaging, something that leaves a memory in players and keeps them engaged for possibly dozens of hours. So that's really good. That's really great. And I agree with you on the inspiration. I mean, it's just great to be in a creative job. And as a writer, I've seen that many times. Inspiration can struck you can strike you anywhere. So you're in a cafe, you're walking down the street, you're maybe walking by the river, and you're like, wow, this is a great scene, and I'd like to put it in my work. And it helps keep things grounded to reality, which is great. Well, I guess this question is kind of tied to this, but in a different way. Do you have any heroes in the industry? Is there anyone you look up to?
Um,
You can say
I
no,
don't
of
think
course.
so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right. Okay.
Because, to be honest, I don't play many games. I just don't have much time for this because I have a daughter, I have a family, and I'm strongly dedicated to my family. So I spend most of my time with either with them or with myself. So if I can get like an hour to stay just in silence, do nothing, like sit in the park or
Yeah.
something like this, I will definitely jump on this opportunity.
Yeah, as much as you can.
Much faster than just play the game.
Exactly. Well, I think, and I suppose it's valuable to you the time that you spend playing Stardew Valley with your daughter, for example.
Yes,
That's already incredibly valuable, and there's no shame in not playing other games if what you're doing is just as powerful. But yeah, now you may have noticed that this conversation has gotten a bit deeper over time. So
Yes.
let's dive into one thing that I wondered ever since I read your message about struggles. So when I got in touch, you mentioned loads of struggles and a few successes, but I think your story is very rich of some successes here and there. So let's talk about this and tell me more about that. What has been your biggest struggle or challenge in your game dev story, or just in your development story?
The challenge. Well, during last few years, my biggest challenge was to break the glass ceiling we had in our studio because after reaching certain success with the first project, which reached some sales, it's free-to-play project. Let me clarify this. I mostly developed free-to-play projects during my career. And after reaching certain level, the project stopped to grow. We started to work on other games, but it was the same. The project grew, then it stopped to grow.
So you saw that it plateaued.
Yes, it was a plateau, and for a few years we have been struggling to break that plateau and go higher because at some point the project cannot grow organically. It needs to be advertised. You must buy traffic. You must drive players, and wherever you do, if you don't reach certain number of lifetime value, so basically how much money each new player brings to your game, if you don't break that number, which is required to buy to acquire player to drive traffic. Like if you buy new players at $2 per player, but you earn less than $2 from this player, you're basically just burning your money. If you exceed this level, you can buy more and more and more. Your project grows higher and higher. And we didn't break that level where you can buy traffic with in big numbers. So that was the hardest challenge, because you have to just use all your skills trying to make the game more profitable, more balanced, keep players engaged, keep players retaining. And whatever you do, the ceiling just grows because the industry develops. The ad level, ad spending grows. so auction prices for advertising grows. So
Yeah,
your game
the
grows
advertising online.
and the ceiling grows.
Yeah.
So if you don't reach that point, basically your game is not going to make it. And that was the major struggle for me for last few years.
Yeah, you mentioned the last few years, but is there something at the moment that you're currently struggling with in terms of development or?
Right now, my biggest struggle is that I don't want to just scrap the game I have been working on for a few years, and I see potential there because people who enjoy this game, they are they stay in the game for years. So I still have players who sign up on the first day of the after the launch, and they still play. It's like about 10 years. They still play every day. And I don't want to just throw this game into the garbage bin. I want to keep working on it. I want to develop it in something that can reach its audience in the current circumstances. But the game itself is kind of legacy. It was developed with old technologies. It's not a mobile game; it's a browser game. And right now, I'm working on the new game version of the game. Mainly, the game consists of server and client, and the server remains as it is, but client has to be reworked. It has to be adapted to mobile, so I can launch it on mobile or on PC, not browser. And right now, I'm working on the new version of the game, which will be possible to play on mobile device.
Wow, yeah,
And the struggle is the game itself was developed, but it was my first game, so there were many bad decisions made. There were many mistakes. There were many things that we thought, it's okay. Let's keep it as it is. We don't fix it. But after many years, the effect of such decisions it has a long tail because people spend many hours developing the characters, and we just can't scrap it and just change something. We have to. I still tell we because I had a studio like a year ago, but right now I'm working solo. So please don't mind that. I'm working solo now,
yeah.
but I say we.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. So it sounds
Yes.
like the legacy of your old game is kind of
Yes.
affecting what.
It's affecting development of new features, and the main struggle is to keep working on fresh version of the game while taking legacy into account. And try to solve the problem of mixing two different worlds, the old game and the new game. Yeah. That's the biggest challenge.
Well, I suppose if you manage to solve the problem of the free-to-play, the mobile port and the PC port, you're already going to see quite a few successes because, however many years later, you mentioned 10 years later, yes. But this game keeps attracting new players. And the mobile realm is full of free-to-plays, so I think you can find some newfound success maybe if you manage to crack that code. But yeah, I guess another thing that I wanted to ask you is, well, I suppose the fact that this game keeps attracting players 10 years later must fill you with a bit of pride. So is there something that you're particularly proud of among your achievements?
Yes, but the most pride I actually have is for the studio I have built. I had to disband it about a year ago due to changes in the. Well, I had to disband it, but it was a great team of people who enjoyed making games, who enjoyed playing games, and who brought all the creativity they had to the task we were doing, to the games we were developing. And it's actually my biggest regret that I had to disband the studio, because right now, when I work solo, I understand how much a team, how much it could do to your personal development, to your growth as a professional, to the projects you're working on, to games you make. Because right now, if I have some problem, I have to think about it by myself, because
you don't
just
have a
explaining
soundboard.
it to someone else will take hours. But in the team where everyone is deep into the game, you can just say, "Hey, what about this?" And you get tons of ideas. You get some people who are already thinking about this, who are already making some prototypes, maybe some experiments, and the synergy of this of the team moves you much faster than you could move solo.
I get
So
that.
I'm very proud of the team have gathered, and the culture I was developing there, because I think there are many teams who work in games, but there are not many teams with such culture.
Yeah, well, that's very touching to hear that you're so proud of the teams that you built and all that over time. Well, and I agree. I mean, if you don't have a soundboard or someone to bounce off ideas with or bounce ideas off, that's it's going to be challenging to grow together personally and professionally. But yeah, do you think actually that you will ever go back to building a team and building a new studio over time?
Yes, I would like to create a new studio. I'm not sure if I will be able to call the same people to work with me, because they found their places. Some of them created their own studio, so I'm not really sure if they would like to work with me once again. But I want to make another team as soon as I can. But it strongly depends on the product I'm making and its financial, its numbers.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah, it's financial performance and viability.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can start wrapping up now. Well, if you could tell one thing to your younger self based on this conversation, I suppose you will have some insights. What would it be?
I would think about how a player will what your player will do in the game after 500 hours of play, because one of the biggest issues we had with our projects was that players were consuming content much faster, and that was the main stopping point. For us, you have to think about how players will still enjoy your game, why they will still enjoy your game after many hundreds of hours of play. That's it.
That's great insights, actually. Well, you've navigated the industry for a while, I suppose. You've done your own studio, you've done your own engine, you've sold things online and all of that, and you have a fairly successful project, even though it's a legacy project now.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about the games industry, what would it be?
I don't think I would like to change anything.
Okay.
Maybe, maybe, maybe if leaders of the teams, and especially in bigger studios, would think more about people actually making the game.
Right.
That would be great, because I see that there are many changes in studios and many troubles in bigger studios, especially about crunch time and deadlines, etc. It all looks like people at the top don't think what people at the bottom do. So
Well, that's a very live issue, and I totally agree with you. So awful that it happens in the first place. So, well, I guess we're at the end now. So we could we talked a lot about your games and all of that, and your current projects and future projects. Seems like you need quite a bit of support from the indie gaming community and also from players and all of that. Where can other people find you? And if they do, how can they support you?
Right now, they can just follow me on Twitter because that's the only thing that people can do to support me emotionally. But it's basically just me keeping doing things. So if people are interested in what I'm doing, that would be great.
Okay, well, we're wrapping up then. Thank you so much for your time, Aleksey. And, despite what you said about your struggles and your failures and all that, I think this has been a really incredible conversation and one that the listeners will enjoy. And that, fellow gamers, is a wrap on episode 4 of the Indie Diarist podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please support by following the socials for now. We're just on Twitter. Well, I am just on Twitter at the moment. I'm a one-man team, just working on this podcast in my free time to connect with some amazing indie game developers that you've seen. You can find the podcast as The Indie Diarist on Twitter. And that's, for now, the only way you can support the show, but more ways will come in the future, rest assured. So, if you like this episode, please share with your friends. Let me know. My DMs on Twitter are open. And if you're also a game developer with an interesting story to tell, feel free to reach out. And we could probably work something out because this podcast, this space is open to everybody who has a great story to tell. Thank you again.